Hello everyone, welcome back to another video from Winter Forest. Today let's continue this coding challenge. Now we are up to task 2, simple tiny scraps. So this is a real task that Mind sent to me because probably just a few months ago and COVID-19 is happening, I just lost my contract. So I applied for the lead developer role in them, but they silenced. And a few days ago, they come back to me. I have they tasked one. It is called build a small load server, and now we come into the task 2, simple tiny scrap. And now we go to the code, see what we're going to achieve. I do not have the description because it is in Hackathon. I download the source code, so when I have a spare time, so I could hack it and just showing in there. So a video in here, so you could get a help if someone on the market looking for load developer role. I believe this can be help, and it is very good. It is test driven. Designer. So what are we going to do? We just first follow the TDD because I don't have the description. I'm going to see what the code going to test, and I made this test pass. So it is similar like you do a real test. If you can make this all of the test pass, then you're going to get a pass this task. So in this task, when we see this source code, you are like imagine you are the first time just get into download this source code, have to see what this task going to do. First, I go into the index. You could see it actually input the tiny scrap on top. So when they input this tiny scrap, it won't go into none until you go into say a new instance. It's going to start it. You could register 1, 2, 3, 4 listeners. So this also means my tiny script need to have 4 implementation for each of them. Second, for 2 of them, we accept the data. For these 2 of them, won't accept the data. And since this will have on it, they need to tell you need to inherit the event emit class. So I'm going to do exactly the same. But before we going to start, just let's look up the test. Because by look up the test, we know what we're going to achieve. So we're going to build this tiny organization scrap. So it probably some working server jobs, not on maybe a day. And so we have to pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tasks. The first task tell us, so did you see here, this is the task, this is the server, not for us to do. So when they start this task, if you see this index, when they start this task, they expect to have a sign and going to retrieve some website and get some information from the metadata. So in here, and they expect when they test, they running on local have a server. That's why you see here have a server file. We have a look into next. First, you see here. So this they all, and this is just one describe. So it is defined this context. It will start the script is empty, and each test they new different one instance of this tiny scraps. We are going to build it, and they test each own method. And the first task he said should emit scrap events once the process started. So when this started, if this URL is valid, this scrap could accept receiver on scrap started, and then receive this URL. They don't care about the data you return back, so they only care about you passed it is listening to this URL subscribe. The second task is when you have an error. You suppose the error is back. The third task is going to have this URL and succeed. You suppose just running down, they didn't. If they expect the succeed have happened. And this task is really they need to implement it. So it tests two URL. Each URL will pass different to you. So you see, and you need a subscript, get the metadata, put there in the data file. So they expect a receive object have 3 key inside: title, description, and the image. It is what they need. This two is different. Test 1 test use different URL. See, you do exactly the same thing. And this test timeout. See, this timeout either will pass the 1 to you either. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create this class, accept 2 parameter. If this pass this one, just let it time out. I only need to let the task to do. I already don't know why they need this one. So we only do the code, achieve the task requirement. Second thing, because since he going to use this one, then let's look where they send this one. So where we go into this URL, read who's thing here, then you need to go into the server. Once they start the test, they will start the server first. So then we have the index started here. Here they use the Express server, have one URL. So basically he said if it's test, just listen in here. Basically exactly the same. So instead of return model, they return this on running. Build it and running instead just return the app. And if in here, then we could see they actually use the file system. So either have a file, either we are reader of a file. So if you start the URL, they send a different URL. Basically what here says, so basically your URL either will send these two files to us. One file, it is URL 1, you see, in here. So it actually is the metadata, the content. We need to extract this out. And the second thing, it also the metadata. He didn't test the body. We only care about it is this metadata. And so now just let's go to our tiny scrapper. We already know we need to have a for method. And we need to emit the image. So we just get this event emit. This have nothing to do JavaScript. This actually just load. So you could, I think this just test you could use even the image. And now we have our class. What they needed, we just go to here. He expect I have this tiny scrap. Okay, I just define a tiny scrap. And this supposed inherited from the event image. On the bottom, we just export it out for user. Now we need to have a class, and so we have our constructor. And did you see in here the usage in here? It will new and accept the URL also 1 parameter number. So we just say constructor will accept the URL. Another thing is the count, the timing out, they will send a digit number over there. Now in here, let's see that we just open this task, test. Because we do TDD, so we just open our test. Let's see what here say here if I receive actually I say if I have error, we need to be aware have error. Are we going to fetch something? So I'm going to install a library called Oxygen. I don't going to run my own server in here. So I installed a library called Oxygen. I'm going to fetch it from the localhost they provide, the URL they provide. And also in here, they're going to get the metadata. I just found that they have a very small library could use it. So instead of write my own implementation, since this is going to be fast, also install another library. It's called Let's Get Meta. Now, before we start, we could have this Oxygen. Another metadata. Once we get the data, we use this get the meta to get our metadata. I was have looked at this before. If you are in the test, you need to look how he sent it is error. Did you see the URL? If just the root URL, they just error it out. So I'm going to validate it. It is the URL has passed, not just the root. So in here, if they knew it, then have the URL. I'm going to see this valid. If it is valid, if it is not valid, did you see the error? Just emit the error. Here, they need the error. What kind of error message? They don't care. So we just put anything over there. It will pass. Invalid URL. Error message no matter for them. Just emit the error. Else, URL is invalid. We're going to fetch the URL and read the metadata. Instead of write in here, just write the function. Here I haven't write it. I'm going to write the function. Yeah. Now we need two functions. One is called valid. Valid will accept the URL. Class method. Another class method is called fetch info. We accept the URL, also the count. If they provide the count means they fetched before, I believe it like this. So if I have this number, I just error it back. I just time out. They basically just say time out. Need something time out, but you need a time out after have that done. Did you see all of this is done? So it actually supposed is promise, not asynchronous, need asynchronous. And so this one is supposed asynchronous. So I just have a sync function. Now I use try catch. This is just like you in the front, you do front developer just always use this. You are in the React, you use this just fetch something. And be aware here, he said have a counter just emit fair. I just time it out. I don't know what the purpose. This have a counter, then going to time it out. And then just this emit time out. What the error message needed? Doesn't care about the error message. I just put anything. Maybe in the real life, you just do 3 times try. If reach a count is pivot is 0, so you have the counter. So you just time it out. Because you count at, suppose is by default is count is 0, then you count at, because you all do the second time, so then you just time it out. But in here the coding test is like this one. This can made this pass, and once started, then we need to have another method called started. Since this started means we going to started. I think we started to fetch after we get the data. We start to pick up the data, metadata. So we emit. Script started. What they needed, I just copy from here. He doesn't care about the data, but in the index, they need here have a data. Any data. He care about the URL. So this one started. Now we do let's result. Now we're going to get this result. The result is the data. So we're going to do it. This is the library we just used. This suppose is called response, and this is the response.data. Then you get this metadata. Once you get this metadata, just give the result. What they test the title, and they also test the description. Copy paste in case I type in. And then the last one is the image. And this is what we need from here. Why I know it is this one? Because here it is called OG title, OG image, OG description. And it get metadata, we put this as a key, then key value per value is this one. So it is like this one. Once we have this, we just immediate success in case I type in the result. Try catch error. They tested the error. So we just this to image error. Yes, error. Now we haven't validated the URL. Validate the URL. Look here, and he actually just expect the path over there. You don't have the path, then have error. So we just to get the URL. We use the node built-in URL. Then we just return. This one have a personal node. So we need to have a URL, otherwise it's undefined. Now we can do our test. And look at the package. This package going to run the test. So it will they run test before you see. They run this load running on A001. Then run the test. Before run the test, it will install the package. So if we install package, is fine over there. npm test. First. Failed one. Let's 3 pass, 3 fail. Let's see why we fail. So we could just run this fail. Make it big. What did this expect? And this our tiny scrap. Think, wait. Reference data is not defined, sorry. Sorry, it is this one. Yeah, my mistake. Because here previous put this is data, but this actually is response. The data inside this response. Now in the past, I don't think I read this one. Suppose exit, automatic exit. Run it again. Yeah. Now we're going to remove the only, not everybody. Because the fail from these scripts successful. Because in here as I have data, this is all going to, I don't have data over there, so my repo already failed if they rated. Now everybody pass, so it is 6 tasks, 6 pass. Basically quite simple, but if I don't know, they have this get metadata. And this everybody use every day. Even the emit, this is easy. But this actually, people are trying to write my own one, take a bit of time. And actually, this actually you don't need it. So quite a very simple task, but quite interesting for you get familiar with this event emit and know this coding test to TDD test. Thank you for watching. Hope you found it helpful. Bye bye.